Welcome to this week's episode of Krazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair. I hope everyone's been enjoying the ride so far and also all of the really cool stuff we've been doing in XPW wrestling. It's been so much fun being there and getting to work with a bunch of legends and so forth. So, speaking of legends, it's always wonderful to reconnect with a lot of my old ECW coworkers. And I can't wait for this one. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Let's just welcome RVD. So thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a minute or two, or like 50 and so forth. What was it like? Australia was the last time I think we saw each other.
I I remember last time I remember seeing you, I was with Harry Slash. It was in some diner in New York. Like yeah, I think that was since Australia. I don't know, but and I didn't realize that he knew you, but he was you remember that, right? I was at the King Neptune diner or somewhere that Harry always takes me, one of those things.
Yeah, because that's like the best food ever is New York City diner food, which I can't wait to have again. So what have you been up to? I just saw that you were at Exotica. What was that like for you? I mean, I have not been to Exotica in over like 10 years. What was it like going to one of those or like signing there?
Well, so this was actually our second, our meaning my wife and I, Katie
Yes.
Forbes. And we got into it through the promoter Dan. He just started doing 420 expos, so it's the same guy. So he's got like four of these Exotica expos a year that are very successful, and now he wants to add a couple of 420 expos to it. So we're in it right now for the long run, as long as we don't have an opposing schedule, and I keep really busy traveling anyway. So that's always possible, but otherwise, we're looking at his schedule and seeing which days we can make. And it was cool. It was I'm comfortable in that environment. One thing that's kind of funny is because people aren't expecting to see RVD at an adult expo like that. The one in New Jersey, the first one that we did, a few people, at least three, maybe four people came up and had some questions, about Rob, like when did you cross over? Or I didn't realize you were doing this now. And it got a laugh out of me. But no, just they're signing because, I'm even there, like I'm like a big like one of the biggest stars there, even though I have nothing to do with that because fans are always so excited to see me. And of course, wrestling fans like porn, and I have my CBD company represented there at a booth. So we've done one 420 Expo and two Exoticas so far with these guys, and it's great having the booth set up with all my product and networking with people and also with other vendors, making new friends, all that.
Wow. See, here's the thing. I was offered a booth there like last year to promote my podcast. I'm like, I'm not going there because I'm not like whipping my fucking tits out. I'll whip my tits out on a wrestling ring, no problem. That's fine. But I'm not going to do it in person for people to start like taking photos with me or something. So I have like, I don't know how you do it. I just, well, they're probably not asking you to take your top off and grab you and shit. So, okay, it's
They're
probably
not.
different.
They're not right. No, it's not. It's not that much different than signing at a wrestling convention for me, except it's a lot more fun when I get a few minutes to walk around and see what's going on. But Katie gets a little bit of that harassment, for lack of a better word. She says, as soon as I walk off, if we're both at the booth, then people start asking if they can touch her and stuff, which, there is some touching that goes on at those, but it's obviously it's up to the models and their own policies, but there's some pretty friendly grabby lap dances going on in some of the areas on the floor.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I wonder what it's like because I know some girls like mount the guys and they're like jumping on them. What's it like to be that last guy that gets, or the guy that gets like the end of that whole thing? Not that I want to know, but that's quite all right. I think it's interesting that you are there. We also had the same agent a few years ago when I started acting again. What was his name? It was oh geez. It was a Daniel Hoff, Kevin Turner.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Are you still acting at all?
Am I still acting at all? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not acting, you know what I mean? So like there's as much as I ever have, there's always a few projects on the table that may or may not materialize, you know. So that's still true now, you know. Some bigger ones where people want to utilize me like in a big role and use the vehicle to showcase me, and then other ones where they just want me to be in their movie. And you know, the just the way the business is, until it happens, it's not real. You know, if I get a deposit, then at least that's real. But 99% of for me of the entertainment business, and sadly, it's true with the marijuana business. True, it's all talk, and then every once in a while something happens.
So there's so many people getting into the whole 420 business. I've like smoked maybe a couple of times. I had Jerome Baker on my show once before, and we were talking about bongs. For some reason, the first time I smoked out of a bong and the last time I was coughing. Like, I guess there's an art to it. What made you decide to get into the whole 420 business? And what would you say is different than yours and everyone else's, even though it's you, it's RVD. So tell me about that because it's very interesting to me.
Well, first off, it's a very organic fit for me because I've been a marijuana advocate since like 96 or 97. And I've paid a lot of attention to the plant when other people were paying attention to other things, you know, so that puts me like way far ahead in education and understanding. And so it was a real natural fit. I always thought maybe someday I would brand some weed, but before it was quasi legal, there was no way to protect it. Anybody could grow anything and call it whatever they want. But then now with the packaging, you know, it's like pretty elaborate now, and it's come a long way to where there's actual products with continuity from state to state. And what really made me decide that it was the right time to do it was I got tired of losing peers, right? Um, so many of my friends that are dead are from opiate overdoses, which cannabis you can't overdose from. That's a safe alternative. There's lots of reasons that comes into play, but also the other thing is from suicide, which they're always linked to depression, which they always link to concussion damage. It was actually the last one was kind of it was Ashley Massaro, and that one like really affected me. And I was reading this magazine that said that NFL was considering using CBG, which is almost like a stem cell for cannabinoids. It's an early um, premature state where it can become CBG can become another cannabinoid, THC or CBD, and anyway, the benefits of using that at that stage were showing a lot of potential in helping with brain trauma. And I thought, I really think I would like to put a lot of energy into that. I've had a lot of concussions. Um, until recently, I never had any long-term damage from them, but I did get one particular, not even a bad whack, but it was something that gave me double vision in 2016, and that one took like 2 years to straighten out my vision. And it still changed me a little bit, so I can't say I don't have anything permanent, but mostly, like I wanted something I can spread around to my peers. I got the best pain cream for sure, and the best products overall. Like CBD is a sketchy area where a lot of products have been reported as having not quite what the label claims. We can't do that in Nevada or California because we have to pass all these tests and compliancy laws. But from all of the feedback that I've gotten from everybody that's used my products and from just me helping create the products, not just putting my name on them, but helping to actually create them and sending it back to the lab with notes. That got me to a point where I'm very proud to say that I know I got the best product. So if you're going to try CBD or you're not quite sure what to do, whatever, if you go with RVD CBD, you're trying the best. And everybody gets different results from everything. So it's something you kind of got to experiment with. We can guide you as far as like, tell us what you're looking for, what kind of relief. And then it's easy to say, well, pain cream would be better than tinctures under your tongue. But overall, everyone's got to see like what it will do to them. The cannabinoids go through your system like a diagnostic check, and they look for things, flaws that they can fix, and tells your body to go there and heal. So it's really cool, and it's really helping a lot of people.
Yeah, I would expect people to probably buy it from your company because you have experience with it, number one. And you're also going back to the lab with it and you're not pushing it out there. Like, I get so angry when I see like Naomi Watts pushing menopause. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, it's not a one size fits all. Like, you have to go to a doctor and get your thyroid test to do a whole hormone panel. And then they use pellets, they use like creams. It's an expensive thing to stay young, between that and like NAD treatments. But to see celebrities like actually putting into the work into it, such as yourself, is rare. And for cancer patients as well, are there tinctures under the tongue? I've never quite understood what it is with, with CBD and cannabis that help cancer patients. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
I'll see if I can give you a quick little education. All
please. No,
right.
I need to.
So we got the marijuana plant, which was prohibited in 1936. The head of the FBN, Harry Anslinger, hated cannabis. He wanted to scare everybody away from it. So he used a fear campaign. And William Randolph Hearst, um, he owned all the newspapers, and cannabis was a direct competition with him because he made his money from all these newspapers, and he would grow 20-year-old trees and chop them down. And here, cannabis is an annual crop. And if you manipulate the lights, you can get a 90-day crop, just full grown. So anyway, he helped, and a bunch of guys got together. Rockefeller didn't, he made his money off of fuel and oil, and you can use hemp seed oil to run cars and anything. And so, it can replace 80% of pharmaceuticals. So for all the wrong reasons, marijuana was outlawed, and they used like racism to actually like drive it home. Harry Anslinger used this movie Reefer Madness, which maybe you've seen. A lot of people, if you watch it, it's funny now, but they really believed that back in 36, 37, they watched it, and it talks about how this new menacing devil's lettuce, is taking over all the schools at an alarming rate, and they're making kids violent and crazy. And so anyway, that was the original, and it was Mexicans and it was black people in jazz clubs that seemed to be smoking this marijuana. So that's where all the heat went on locking those people up and forcing those people south, and things that wouldn't be fly today. Mayor LaGuardia in 1945, he says, hey, if I'm going to keep this prohibited in my city, New York, and lock people up for it, let me do some testing on it and see if all your claims are true. He tested it, found that it was all bullshit. It's not dangerous. It's not addictive. It shouldn't be a criminal offense. Harry Anslinger was so offended, he buried LaGuardia's report. You can look it up, LaGuardia Commission. It'll pop right up. And he banned all future testing on marijuana. Boom, forever. So until recently, all we knew was that marijuana gets you high. It has THC in it. But turns out now that it's quasi legal and we're studying it now, we're still learning, but there's over 100 different cannabinoids. THC is just one of them. And so they all have like similar or different properties. We have our own system inside of us called an endocannabinoid system. And the cannabinoids, they latch onto our receptors, and they mimic what our own body does anyway, because our body sends these little endocannabinoids to do this. So that's how it tells you to heal. It looks for inflammation, but I mean, it regulates bone density. There's so much amazing stuff. It's in charge of almost everything. So as we experiment more with it and we separate the 100 and some cannabinoids and we combine them in the right ways, and you got, CBN helps you sleep more, combine that with some, THC1 or whatever. That's where the science is going. It has been for a while in California, at least 8, maybe 10 years. They've always been ahead. But that's so the difference. CBD is another cannabinoid from the plant. does almost everything THC does except get you high.
Huh.
And so now when they grow it, they don't just grow a marijuana plant, take off the THC, take off the CBD, because now you grow the plant dominant in the respect that you want it. So if you're growing for CBD, you don't even need the THC. You can get it from hemp. You grow plants that's strongest in CBD and or in THC if that's what you're doing, or CBG or whatever. So you grow particularly for what you're looking for. And we have a long way to go, but like I said, I'm years ahead of everybody else studying it and understanding it. And it's great. Like you mentioned cancer. I had my evil ex had stage 3 cancer, and I was at City of Hope at a nutrition meeting with her and with a whole bunch of old people and cancer patients. And I was there to learn. It was a dietary nutrition thing. And this little old lady raises her hand, and she asked the person that was giving the meeting, "What can I do to stimulate my appetite? I can't eat. I'm weak. I try to eat, I just get sick. And I just want to sleep all the time, and I'm just uncomfortable. What can I do?" And I was so offended to hear the lady say, "Well, just keep trying hard. And there's little tricks you can do, like powdered milk will add some calories sometimes if you sprinkle that." And I said, "Hey, what about medical marijuana?" And then she said, "Oh, good. Medical marijuana. Now that you mentioned it, I can talk about it. I'm not allowed to talk about it." And then she's went on to say marijuana can help them stimulate their appetite, help them with nausea, help them with overall comfort, help them sleep, all this stuff. And it's their policy to let the people suffer instead of telling them, so they can sell them drugs and keep them sick. It's crazy. And this is California. Medical marijuana has been legal since 1996 in California, and you can literally get it right down the street from the City of Hope. And it's their policy to keep your mouth zipped, and don't tell them about an alternative way to get better besides our products, our chemotherapy, and what the federal government wants us to do.
I agree with that. I have a friend going through chemo right now, and I always get concerned for Necro Butcher because I work with him, and he's a cancer survivor. So it's a really big deal, especially like you're wrestling, you're putting your body on the line, and then this. I remember having an edible once. I know people have different experiences with edibles, but
Yeah.
I believe that there are also a lot of people that abuse the green card, or the card to get marijuana, so to speak. And that's the issue some people have. I I don't smoke anything. I'll take a hit of something now and again, but
I
I
think
I haven't done
abuse
it a lot.
abuse has to be subjective. I mean, it's although the federal government considers it a Schedule 1 controlled substance since 1970, when Richard Nixon temporarily put it there. Um, the federal guideline says it's got zero medicinal value, but we have like 38 states that have legalized it, and even the whole time that the Fed said it's got zero medicinal value, they had a pill called Marinol that was 100% THC that they would give to people that are wasting away. So it was hypocritical from the start. But when it comes to abusing it, I mean, if it's interfering with your life and you can't stop, then maybe you gotta. I always think it's about priorities, definitely more than addiction when it's come to cannabis and with things in life overall. Katie will be quick. Katie will be quick to claim like, "Oh, he's addicted to sex. He can't stay faithful to his wife," and I'm like, or maybe that's his priorities. Maybe that's the life that he wants, is to be a rock star on the road and whatever. But I don't use the word addiction, any words, loosely, because they'll have specific meaning. But I think if I was going to have to define abuse with cannabis, maybe like underage use. I didn't smoke it till I was 21 myself, and I never have encouraged kids to smoke or drink or fuck or do anything adults do. Your kids, your kids, certain things are for kids. I don't think kids should run the country, sit in government positions. There's all kinds of
I
there's all
agree.
kinds of things where I draw the line. Yeah.
Yeah, or, I mean, 16 years old voting, same thing, kind of. But then again, there are a lot of people over 21 that act like kids these days. Uh, wrestling. Do you think that's something you'd go back to? I mean, what are your thoughts on it nowadays? There are girls doing like death matches. It's like a whole
Yeah,
other world now.
yeah. Well, personally, I'm not happy with the changes because overall it's gotten away from the fundamentals that I believe in. So that's not enjoyable for me, and I can explain it easy enough by saying when I got broke in, the number one rule was to protect the business, and now it's not even hardly a factor, to protect it. Like that meant if setting up the spot exposes it, it's not worth it. Throw it out. You can't do it. That's definitely not in play anymore. But overall, though, I mean, the athletes are better than they've ever been, though, and everyone's out there doing springboard, shooting star, double presses to the floor. I don't even know how they're going to stand out, and people remember them as much because it has become the style so much, But I still wrestle. I wrestle about once a month. My last match was October 30th. This weekend, I'm wrestling in Philadelphia at the ECW Arena. It's a reunion show for ECW. I'm wrestling Rhino, and I will be inducted into the ECW Hall of Fame. Jerry Lane will be there to induct me. And I'm going to be seeing a lot of old, familiar, friendly faces. So, but I can tell you this: I would never go back to what was full time for me, which was like 5 days a week, every week. But I don't know if anyone's going to go back to that after the pandemic, So I don't know, but I'm happy, like so happy right now. I'm at my happiest, and so I wouldn't want to change anything. Being on my own terms means that one match can mean just as much in the important ways, if you know what I mean, in the bank, as much as like 20, 25 matches working my ass off a month somewhere else. Um, so I don't know. I might pop up here and there. I wrestled in Japan twice this year, in Canada a couple times, and Ireland. And that usually those are the kind of shows that can afford me. I'm not priced to go out every weekend and work at every little rinky-dink show because I don't want that.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's there are a lot of people doing that and doing way more than what they could be doing in a way. But do you watch any specific promotion? Like, what are your thoughts on, let's say, the AEWs that are out there, Total Nonstop Action?
I don't watch anything specific, but every once in a while I catch a match or two. And I think kind of like just what I said, I can't watch it without critiquing it. Like I can't help without going, why did that guy move out of the corner so early and make the other guy look like an asshole? He still ran all the way and jumped, even though the guy wasn't even there. They're more worried about being in position and spot like they're dancing instead of fighting. And it's just so different than my own beliefs that when I watch it, the inconsistencies, kind of drive me nuts. And so it's not as enjoyable. It's more, but a lot of times I'll try to point things out to Katie, and say, like they could have done more of this or that, or did you see this? I'll rewind it, watch this, boom, boom, boom. And so that's useful. And a lot of people tell me that wrestling isn't like what it used to be, and they had all the big stars and blah blah blah. But either way, fans are still out there buying tickets, so it must not be doing too bad.
Yeah.
That's what I always think.
I hope you're enjoying the ride on Krazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair podcast. So if you are, do me a huge, huge favor. Woo! Please go ahead. Go on to Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever, but Apple's great. Give me a nice rating and review. Send me a screenshot, and I promise you, I will send you a special goodie bag. So please rate and review Krazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair podcast. And in exchange for that, once I see the DM with the review and your name and address, I will get those gift bags out to you. I'm not going to tell you what's in it.